Hey there, beautiful souls. Welcome to today's message. As usual, you guys know the drill. I really want you to be involved in today's message. And I will say, like always, this is coming from my own personal breaking through my fears and growth that I'm going through. And please, excuse my lower energy today, because it actually was a real push for me to come on and jump on board with you guys today because of the growth that I'm going through and because of the challenges that I am being faced with and I am looking to share with each and every one of you guys. So, man, it is tough. So, a note of, acknowledgement to all of us who are going through the challenges, going through the tough stuff. What I want to share with you guys today has actually taken me 34 years of my entire life to get to this point with, and to finally be strong enough within myself to not need to actually be distracted or seek to fulfill my needs through other people, rather than actually developing it where I need to within myself. So, it is tough work, and it's taken a lot of introspection. It's taken a lot of, and continues to take a lot of self-compassion, a lot of self-love, a lot of reliance on self and trust of self. So I'm hoping that what I'm going to share with you guys today, it's kind of a couple of messages in one, but I feel like it's going to help anybody who can relate to this message on a very personal, individual relationship with self level, also in family dynamics and in the relationships in which we have this sense of a need to belong at the cost sometimes of our own integrity and connection with ourselves. And also taking a look on the grander scale, and as we look around the world right now and we feel this divide with what's going on, and these sides that seem to be pitted against one another, and nobody seems to be feeling understood, and it feels like there's a hell of a lot more fear and insecurity and conflict and condemnation and all the stuff that just makes us feel kind of helpless on an individual level, where we don't even feel like we can have a logical, rational conversation, because we're just talking beyond one another because of our fears and our insecurities and our projections and just our ability to deal with uncertainty and cope with uncertainty. So I want to look at it from all those levels with you guys today. And like I always say, please do engage with this message. I love it when you can join live. I love hearing from you guys. I want to hear your wisdom, your experiences, your perspectives on today's topic. Any questions that you may have. I love getting questions. They're my favorite thing in the world, getting on the spot kind of whatever comes out. And definitely, if you do find this message of value, I'd love for you to share it with anybody in your life who you feel could benefit from it. So that is really what I want to be diving into. Is the topic for today is all going to be around self-deception, and I'm a master at it. I've been a master at it my whole life. So I want to talk about that. I want to talk about its relationship with naivety. And how that is actually kind of a survival strategy. Not kind of, it's definitely a survival strategy, particularly for those of us who have been on the earth for a pretty big period of time, and maybe we shouldn't be so naive at the age that we are and the experiences that we've had. Oftentimes our naivety can point to our survival strategies, and it can be a really good tool for self-deception. But the purpose of today's message is to share my personal journey with you. Like I said, I'm really in the midst of it. My energy, I actually feel anxious right now as I'm delivering this message for you guys today, because it's such a big deal to me. A massive deal, okay? And so I'm going to share that with you guys, but like I said, drop me some comments, let me know who's tuning in, and let's get into it. So today's topic is Self-deception is the survival strategy that we come to rely upon when we cannot face the realities of our fears. Okay, now let me unpack this, let me give you some examples, and let me apply it to your relationship with yourself, your relationships with the people closest to you, and then on a larger scale, what we're dealing with, on more of a global scale in terms of our conflicts and our collective consciousness at the moment. All right, so I want to look at our fears as the driving force behind self-deception. So what's self-deception? Self-deception is when we convince ourselves on an unconscious level of what we feel we need to believe in order to survive. Okay, so an example in my own life has actually, and what I'm dealing with right now, and why this is the first time in my life that I'm actually strong enough within and able to hold the capacity of my fears to be able to lean into them at a much higher level in relationship to what I'm navigating in my life right now, is basically because what had happened was every single one of us, right, I believe, has dealt with trauma, has dealt with conflicts that we couldn't really reconcile when we were younger. We didn't have the emotional intelligence. And so basically what children do, and I'll start it at this level because we've all been a child before, what children tend to do is we actually can see things that don't add up, but because we don't have the capacity to take care of ourselves and have a safety net within ourselves at this point, we are solely dependent on those caregivers that are around us. And so if we were to project our sense of lack of safety, or something's not right here, or something's toxic or abusive or whatever it is, if we were to project that onto our caretakers, it would be too much, too overwhelming for who we are as that child without the emotional awareness and intelligence and connection to self to really help us. So what we end up doing is feeling those things that aren't right, and then unconsciously taking kind of a path in order to mitigate against that. And oftentimes what we do is we make any challenge or something that's not adding up in our external world mean something about ourselves, and we actually take a whole bunch of responsibility for that pattern, particularly in a family unit, right? Because that's where we've all kind of stemmed from. And as I'm sure you guys are aware, we actually develop between the ages of 0 to 7 who we think we need to be in order to survive in the world, but really it's in relationship to our family dynamics. Now, it has literally taken me 34 years to come to a point of realization, and I've had to go on a whole series and journey of relationship dynamics to finally realize what has been going on in my own family dynamics. It's taken me this long to break free of my naivety, to recognize the role that I've played in my family dynamics that have perpetuated more of a unhealthy, almost toxic in some circumstances, dynamics with certain members of my family. And I want to say that, like, my patterns that have been my survival, my seeing the good, my negating the bad, my ability to see the potential and want to invest all my energy in the fulfillment of those around me, it's kind of like my greatest gift and my Achilles heel that I've been unconscious to. And basically what has happened at this point in my life is I've reached a point where I actually have the capacity. It's almost like my subconscious has gone, okay, you can deal with this now. Through what you've gone through your depth of connection with yourself, we can recognize that we can allow this unconscious truth that you've pretended to be naive to on a subconscious level and deceived yourself about. We can allow that to come to the forefront. We can allow that to come into conscious awareness because we're no longer afraid that you might lose your sanity by doing so. Okay, and so some of these truths that I've had to learn the hard way through external experiences and navigating different dynamics and coming into the same problem time and time again to finally wake up, those have been stepping stones that have always turned me back towards my connection to self, when the people in my external world who I've been reliant upon to fulfill my needs haven't been able to do that for me. And it's been a push back to that self-reliance. Okay, what am I seeking externally that I need to do for myself internally? They've all been these stepping stones that have allowed me to build and strengthen my relationship with myself to get to this point where I am right now, where I'm finally able to allow some of that subconscious stuff that I have been, my subconscious has been protecting me from a stage of survival, which has stemmed from my childhood filters that I've placed upon myself in order to survive that strategy and not be ostracized and continue to have those people in my life that at a certain point it was necessary for them to care and love for me and take care of me. But now I'm an adult woman, right? And I'm still bringing those patterns into the present moment. I've now reached this point where that can come to the surface, and what's actually gotten me to this point of realization, and actually in my own experience, seeing the disordered nature of our personalities in people who have been close to me throughout my life. It's been really kind of terrifying to acknowledge, but also simultaneously like kind of a relief, like to understand finally, because I basically built my whole life to this point, and even why I'm passionate about serving the mission that I'm on to help people heal from within so that they are no longer projecting their pain onto the external world. It's all been because of my experiences, and coming to these realizations right now, which, like I said, I couldn't have gotten to if I hadn't have had all the experiences that I've had that have simultaneously kind of pushed me back to reliance on self, deepening and strengthening my trust and connection with myself on the deepest levels. All of those experiences have led me to this point where I no longer fear the disconnection that must take place with certain people in my life who I have idolized, basically, and it's sad, but basically what's happened is because I've developed that capacity within myself to lean into my fears and no longer fear the loss of any other person in my life, it's allowed me to actually see the reality of a situation rather than be taken up by the fantasy and the hope of a better future with those people in my life, okay? And so I'm going to put out a post. I've done a lot of writing today. In a couple of days, I'll put it out in a post, because I feel like I said, I'm sharing with you guys from a place of like I'm in the moment, like I'm not like I normally share when I've gone through the challenge and I've come to the realizations and the strength, and then I'm sharing it and what I've discovered and how that can support you. What I'm doing in this moment is I'm sharing with you in it while I'm going through it, and I feel quite emotional as I'm expressing this message for you guys today. Like even my fingertips have gone numb, right? And it's because it's such a big deal, but I wanted to capture some of this to share it with you guys. But I do feel like my writing is going to be probably more helpful than today's video message, but you guys can let me know. Hope what I'm sharing with you guys is kind of resonating. But let me take it back to how you can look at this in your own life, right? So where is it in your life where things aren't quite adding up, but you keep kind of trying to do the same thing, right? Like, you keep trying to navigate it, but it never seems to be getting better, and it's getting maybe more and more painful. Is this, in my circumstances, it was in relationships, so particularly highlighted in my intimate partnerships, and then they would continuously bring me back. And right now I've only been able to access a higher level of awareness around family dynamics that I feel everything's been pointing me towards. And I have been quite naive to this because I haven't been, or my subconscious hasn't believed in my strength and capacity to hold the space for the reality of those family dynamics before right now. And what's actually gotten me here, and what I perceive to be so far a discontinuation of not only generational patterns in my family dynamics, but also in my intimate partnerships. I've kind of reached this point finally, where I'm able to lift the veil of naivety and the rose-colored glasses on everything, and I'm actually able to see and lean into the darkness and the reality that has been avoided from those different parts of me. And I want to see for you guys, and this is the thing, right? Let's look at what's going on in the world right now with this segregation between these two opposing perspectives as to the right pathway forward to protect our health and our sovereignty for our futures, right? And I feel like, obviously we're dealing with all of this on a global scale. Different countries are handling it differently, but the same divide within our society is going on. And I've had numerous conversations with people who just feel so defeated, like they're having so many struggles, particularly with family dynamics and relationships where they're just not on the same page, and they feel ostracized, they feel demeaned, they feel like they're not even being treated like a human being, right? And I've been having a few of these conversations, and what's come up for me based on my own experience and my ability to see self-deception and my ability to see how important it's been to have that sense of belonging and certainty, and what we'll do to protect that sense of belonging and certainty, right? I can now see from my own experience that if you are having a conflict with somebody else and they cannot allow you to just have your differing opinion, right? They cannot hear you no matter what you say to them logically or rationally, no matter what you try to prove to them, no matter what information you share with them, all of those different things. If they cannot even handle, if it's like you're talking to a brick wall, if it's like their ears and eyes are fully closed and they're just kind of regurgitating out, things that you can feel they haven't really thought through, they've just kind of attached to for a sense of safety or belonging, have some compassion for them. And the reason why I say that, and stop trying to convince the unconvincible as well, because what I want to highlight in today's message is the power of self-deception and the power of naivety and the power of that survival strategy to latch on to, selective awareness, so that we as a human being, or them as a human being, can actually just survive the challenging times that they are confronted with. And the reason is because I really do believe that our brain has this amazing capacity to protect us from what our mind is unable to reconcile within, and could make us lose our minds, could make us go crazy, right? And so its survival strategy is to make us naive to parts of reality that we can't quite get or reconcile. We don't have the capacity to, we don't have the self-trust and depth of connection and reliance on ourselves to actually be able to take on board and become aware of. Okay, and there's something quite beautiful about our brain's capacity to protect ourselves in that way. But also we have to recognize that the only pathway out of our self-deception is our capacity to go within and develop our connection with ourselves, that trust within our own intuition. And that's a really challenging, difficult path to take, particularly when oftentimes when we go down that path, our biggest fears do get realized. Our sense of belonging to others gets kind of torn apart when we recognize and realize, that we need to do these things alone, right? Without the reliance on others. So it pulls at our deepest core needs of a sense of belonging and safety and security, right? And our love and our connection and all of those things. And those of us who value growth, growth and depth of love and connection, not just surface level, those of us are more so willing to go down the path of growth to develop our connection with ourselves so that we can actually go down the very long, arduous pathway of awakening to all of the ways in which we deceive ourselves so that we can come to a place of having higher capacity to take in reality and not have to live in a fantasy that's been made by our subconscious in order to protect us so that we do not lose our minds before we are ready to really take on and be aware of that information and knowledge. So what I just want to say about that is have compassion with yourself. There are definitely areas of your life where you are deceiving yourself, and recognize that that is our brain's strategy for survival. And if you are somebody who wants to wake up instead of being trapped in a fantasy that doesn't get us anywhere, if you want to wake up to the realities, just know it is going to be challenging. And if you are willing to make sure that you actualize your full potential with consciousness and connection and depth and awareness in this world, then you are going to have to go down this path of establishing and prioritizing your relationship with yourself. Okay, and nobody else is going to do it for you. And all those people that you try and get your needs met through in the external world, they are actually doing you a favor by not quite being ever able to meet your needs for you. And the hope is that you can continue to have those mirrors reflect back to you the work that you need to do within, no matter how many times you try and escape that route in the external world. And also, know that when you go on this journey, you're going to have numerous dark nights of the soul. You are going to suffer from disillusionment, and you are going to go through terror. You're going to go through pain. You're going to go through anxiety. You're going to go through the depths of sadness, but you're going through it. And what awaits you on the other side is like real waking up to the beauty and the awe and the freedom and the joy and the, just the self-reliance and the actual depth of connection that you can have within yourself, and open up the capacity to hold space for others who are waking up on that journey. And know that to stay blind is to sacrifice your whole existence. You're living in a fantasy. You're not living in reality. So be willing to go through the trenches. Be willing to go it alone when you must. And know that all of that is reinforcement that you are waking up. And so you can get to be living your life by design rather than defaulting into the strategies of survival that, we want to be thankful for, that our brain has the capacity to do, but we also want to be able to transcend it. It might have allowed us to survive in the past and as children, but we are becoming adults, even if you're not becoming an adult until you're 70, 80 years old, make at least some time to go on this journey. And simultaneously, you must, when you start to recognize how you deceive yourself, what you can actually do is have higher levels of compassion for other people who just aren't ready to acknowledge what you've woken up to. And can you blame them? It is painful. It is scary to be aware, but if you value freedom and truth and autonomy and designing and creating a life that is in alignment with who your core self is, then you will be willing to go down this arduous journey. All right. So I don't know where this message kind of went. Like I said, what I'll put out to you guys in a couple of days in a post is probably more straightforward and probably easier to understand and follow than my kind of emotional flow right now. But I do hope that this message has awakened you in some capacity to look at your own life, to see where you might be deceiving yourself, and to look at where you may experience a lot of naivety. Maybe you get blindsided a lot. Mine has been with other people when I've just seen all good and none of the darkness, and any darkness that I've seen I've excused away and taken full responsibility for. And what happens when you go down a process like that and a pathway like that is your self-esteem takes a heavy hit if you're taking responsibility for everybody else's projections of their own unhealed pain and all the rest of it, right? So this is so important if you are somebody committed to actualizing your potential and really making a meaningful contribution with your life. Like, you've got to guard your self-esteem, and that means going on a journey of understanding where you end and other people begin, and not only just being able to see the good, but also being able to see the darker aspects of our humanity so that you can be more discerning and more able to come to a situation and contribute something that can be of benefit and health to all those who take part in those dynamics. All right, so that's my message. I really want to dive in and see who's been able to join me today. So please do drop me a comment. Please do let me know where you're tuning in from. And if you've got any questions or comments or words of wisdom that you want to contribute, whether you're joining live or you're listening to the recording. And if you have found today's message of value, please do share it with anybody in your life. All right, let me check in. I have got Sam in the house, and Mario and Judith and Sharon. I hope that's how you say it. I love having you here. And Jose, yay. Hello, Vanessa. It is really scary, the world today. Selfishness, ambition, competition, the war for attention, etc. We become in an age of best technology communication is a lack of personal interaction. Yeah. In my opinion, if we don't challenge ourselves to controlling the use of phone, internet, TV, etc., we will be a trap almost impossible to get out of. My point is this: living in autopilot is the new lifestyle of many. The truth is within us, and I don't mean it religious way, but psychological way. Thank you for sharing and your good work. Oh, Jose, I love always your contributions to these messages, and thank you so much for those kind words. And yeah, I agree with you. It's funny how the technology that allows me to connect with you guys from across the world, that I couldn't be more grateful for, that I've built my entire business on. There's so many benefits to it, and also, like it is an extension of our own psychology being used against us in some ways, right? And so I notice for myself, like how I can be going to do something on a social media platform and get so sidetracked so easily. Like, I watch it happen by something else and the way that it's worked out. So yes, I completely agree with you about building conscious awareness and knowing that there are benefits and drawbacks to everything that we find we live our lives through. And yes, super important, and definitely getting more personal interaction, which has been difficult throughout this whole pandemic, particularly if you live in the city that I do, Melbourne, the most locked down city in the entire world, which is so crazy. But yeah, absolutely, and totally. I really what I try to do is be a creator rather than a consumer, right? So utilizing these platforms. You have to use a lot of conscious effort to do that, because the systems are kind of gamed to grab our attention and, and basically up level our dopamine and our serotonin, and we're hooked, right? Like a drug, and so we have to do a lot of conscious work with that, and it's not always easy, switching off so that we can switch on, right? Like switch off the external ways of distraction and other people's agendas so that we can actually switch on the wisdom within. But yeah, I'm absolutely 100% with you, Jose. I so appreciate your wise words shared here today. Awesome. And Phil, this makes perfect sense to me. Thank you. I'm grateful to hear that, Phil. Much love coming your way. I appreciate that. And yeah, like I said, I'm literally in the middle of it, and I'm back spending some time just on my own. And my past self was always reaching for, connection and external distraction to mitigate against a sense of loneliness, right? But as you guys have probably heard, the brilliant quote that I just totally live by and remind myself of, which is that loneliness is the absence of ourselves, and aloneness is the absence of others, right? And so basically what had kept me playing the same old patterns of distraction through external relationships from my own fears is basically recognizing that, like we've all heard, it's a very lonely place when you're surrounded by people that you're not really contributing your truth to because you're so disconnected from yourself, right? And so building and establishing a quality of connection so that your aloneness, your presence with yourself, right? That is basically, the standard for all other connection. And you no longer want to fill the void of loneliness, because you can never be like alone when you are truly in connection with yourself. All right. So yeah, totally aligned with that. Love it. And Arlen is here as well. And Sam. Oh, Samuel, in disguise. I love it. Yes. Always love your posts. I have changed my online persona to protect myself. I'm Samuel. I've followed you for years. Always love your posts from North Wales. Oh, I love Wales. I'm sorry life has not been kind to you relationship-wise. I myself have found things difficult, but I'm moving forward. Always love your posts. They are so important, but I'm grateful for so much. There are many people who aren't so lucky as I am. Sending you blessings, coach. I have learned so much thanks to you. Oh, Sam, that really, really touches my heart. Thank you so much for those kind words. And yes, I love that, that these messages can be relatable to you, because all of my, like I said, it's taken me 34 years to get to the point that I am, which is realizing that I had been playing out my idealized fantasy of what was missing from my childhood through intimate partnership. And I was attracting people who struggled similarly to the people that I had in my life, that I was oblivious to the disordered nature of their perception of reality and their personality. Okay. And so it's... you're not ready until you're ready, right? You're not ready to lift the veil of self-deception until you're in connection and trust and reliance within yourself. And that's when you have the capacity, and it's not going to be easy, but I'm so grateful that I'm waking up right now in ways that my past self just wouldn't have been able to cope with, right? And we all have this going on in different areas. It's very, very empowering when you can rely on yourself and you can lift the veil and see and acknowledge that you've grown. But like I want this message to be about as well, is for other people around us who can't hear us, who can't understand us, who want to, maybe they've been in an environment that you're waking up from, and just have compassion for them, because you used to be just like them in that realm, and you're probably like that in other realms that you're not awoken to yet. I know I'm going to be waking up to a hell of a lot more in my lifetime, and that's okay. That's great. I love it. I want that, because my main drive for my life is to actualize my highest potential, and that can't be done if I am living naively, or if I am deceiving myself in different ways, right? So that's part of the journey. So yes, thank you so, so much for that, Sam, and much love to you on your journey. And again, just very, very grateful for those kind words, and to know that these messages contribute to you all the way into Wales. So I love that. And Jose, Vanessa, sorry that you're still in lockdown. You have secret there. Writing is the best therapy. Absolutely. Oh my gosh, I've been doing so much writing. My journaling, my artist way pages, all sorts of stuff, and of course my posts that I'm going to be putting out to you guys. I've done a lot actually, and not got much of it out to you, so I will be getting it out, but just bear with me as I'm going through the trenches right now. So thank you so much, Jose. And Daryl is here from the Great White North. And Daryl, thank you so much for the stars. You are always so generous and so appreciated. Thank you for supporting these messages. That's just one way that you guys can support, is through the stars feature, or sharing these posts with anybody that you feel could benefit from them, or contributing with just your perspectives and your words of wisdom and questions and kindness, all of it. So I'm so grateful to each and every one of you guys. Thank you so, so much for showing up today and joining me live. I hope this emotional message has been of value to you. Like I said, I'll put a post out that is a bit better articulated, because like Jose mentioned, right, like writing is the best therapy. And sometimes for me, it just, when I'm in it, it's an easier way to express. So hope my upcoming post will support you with that as well. And I can see Kane has joined. Hello, Kane. Hope you're doing well. And hope anybody joining this message now catches the recording, get a ton of value from today's message, and comment away, and I will engage with you guys after this message is over as well. So much love for each and every one of you guys. Thank you again for showing up. And remember that self-deception is the survival strategy that we come to rely upon when we cannot face the realities of our fears. There is a lot of fear going on in the world right now, no matter what everybody is navigating in their own personal lives. Also, we're dealing with what's going on globally with our own personal health and sovereignty, and what our futures are going to look like, and all sorts of stuff. So we are being hit from all angles. So have compassion for yourself, for your way that your brain protects you and puts you in survival by deceiving yourself and being selectively acknowledging and aware of certain things, and just also have that compassion for others. You've got to find yourself in those patterns before you can truly show up and have the compassion for others. So it always starts with you. But let's have compassion, let's have kindness. If people aren't validating you in the ways that you want, and you're really trying to get them to understand you, just recognize them as the dark gurus who are here to point you back to yourself. And you will cease to need them to change or understand you or be aware once you have developed a strong enough connection and trust within yourself. And if any of you guys ever want support with that, that is the work that I am 100,000,000% committed to, is helping you become your own leader of your own life, heal from the past, regather your strength, and design the kind of person and the future that you know yourself to be and be capable of experiencing. All right. And Yusuf, good to have you here. You are beautiful. Artificial nails are beautiful. Okay. All right. Okay, whatever. All right, good to have you here, Yusuf. That is my message for each and every one of you guys. I'm signing off. I'm sending you all of my love, and I will see you very soon. Much love.